Hello, my name is Yildiz Betez and I head up the Commercial Property and Land Development Department at Thackray Williams Solicitors. Today I would like to talk about the basics of property development. Property development can be a profitable business if you buy low, sell high, or so the saying goes. However, even the most seasoned of property developers can get tripped up for neglecting to consider the basics. So whether you're considering your first development or your 51st, the same principles will apply. So these are the key factors to consider when contemplating a development project. First of all, you need to consider the title. You need to make sure you're given a clear plan showing the extent of the land and buildings you are buying. It's not enough to rely upon your inspection of the site or to rely on any plan that might accompany the agent's particulars. You must ensure that any plan you have relied on in making your offer is checked against the seller's title to the property. It is not uncommon to find that part of a site may not fall wholly within the seller's title. If you're unsure, you should arrange for a surveyor to accompany you on a site inspection with the title plan to assess the position fully. Whether you're buying land with the benefit of planning consent or if you've agreed to buy the site subject to you obtaining planning, you'll need to be aware of all the planning conditions affecting the site and any related obligations such as payments under a Section 106 agreement or the Community Infrastructure Levy. You'll also need to be aware of any restrictive covenants or third-party rights on the title which could interfere or even thwart a development. This is very much a separate issue to planning. The grant of a planning permission does not overcome any title issues. The next thing to consider is access. It is important to check that access to your development can be obtained either from an adopted highway or with consent across land owned by a third party. You should not assume that just because the land is adjacent to a road that access is available. For example, there may be a small gap between the land you're buying and the adopted highway. This could be as a result of an error on a historical plan, which may require formal rectification, or it could be an intentional ransom strip. This is where a third party has retained a piece of land in the expectation that the adjoining land will be developed and that they will be able to recover a premium in exchange for granting the required access rights. In addition to inspecting the title, we would carry out a search at the land registry to establish who, if anyone, owns the surrounding land and make inquiries with the local highway authority. If you're buying part of a larger site, check whether the access to your site crosses land which is being retained by the seller. We would need to ensure that you have agreed adequate rights of access, both whilst you're carrying out the development and for subsequent use by the owners and occupiers of your development. Alternatively, if the access land is not owned by the seller, you may need a separate deed of easement granting rights of access. Again, this may be subject to payment of a premium. The next thing to consider is then budget. Budget will be a deciding factor for any developer. This may seem obvious, but make sure you know what the purchase price is. You will need to establish whether VAT is payable or not. For example, if you're buying a site, say for 1.8 million, and you later find out actually the seller has opted to waive the VAT exemption on the land, then the purchase price will be subject to VAT, which could be, at the moment, an additional 20%. In this scenario, the VAT includes the purchase price will push you over 2 million stamp duty land tax threshold, which could have serious implications on your budget. Is the seller expecting you to pay an overage? This is an additional sum payable to the seller after you've completed it. For example, you subsequently secure a more profitable planning consent. We would make sure that you're aware of any extra payments that are due from you now or in the future. If the overage or the payment of any other premium is likely to be due, we would clarify these amounts before you carry out any expensive investigations into the Crown conditions or incur costs in connection with the plan application process or other professional fees, as the difference could account for all or a significant amount of your profit. The final issue to look at is services. Does the site benefit from connections to main services? Are there any existing sewers or other pipes or apparatus under the site that may affect your ability to build over them? An inspection of the title and carrying out specific service searches will assist. If it's not possible to connect to main service, you will need to see if you're able to connect to services from a third-party land. Again, we would need to inquire if easements are obtainable and at what price. So these are just some of the principal considerations. Each site will have individual issues and will require a bespoke review. However, it is important to appreciate that any misunderstanding of these issues could be the difference between you making a profit or making a loss. If you're considering a new property development project, taking legal advice at the early stage will help you ascertain the feasibility and foreseeable issues involved. Please do not hesitate to contact me at yildiz.betez@thackraywilliams.com. Thank you for listening.